But first, I want to say I'm Bucky Motter. If you've just joined us, I'm the Executive Director of the IATBP, International Association of Trans Bodybuilders and Powerlifters. And I just want to tell Matt that you did a great job, or doing a great job with the slideshow. It just gave me chills to see everybody and just to see the history of all the competitors and just how beautiful the faces are and the bodies are of all the competitors that have come before. So thank you so much for that.
For those of you who don't know, I'm a nobody, but I am a nobody who joined the IATBP board about a year ago with the express purpose of making sure that as many people as possible knew that we existed and that non-binary people were going to be included more in the organization.
Our community has existed a lot, and back then it just wasn't even an option for them to be out about who they were because of things like that, because of being outed and being rejected and not being allowed to compete. What Nat was speaking about, like within creating division, we put out the survey and got it back, and we really appreciate everyone that took time to take the survey and share their opinions with us. It was really valuable, and it helped open our eyes. And we just didn't realize like how many things we didn't consider and just other people's perspectives that were maybe quite different from our own. It quickly becomes very complicated because number one, so our primary goal, I want everyone to understand, our primary goal is to be inclusive. We want everyone to feel represented. We want everyone that comes in and wants to compete to feel like this is a place where they feel safe and they feel valid and they're welcome here. That's our primary goal. And then our secondary goal is to be as fair as possible across the different divisions and to make a pleasant environment to compete in where everybody, there's inclusivity, but also competition. Everybody feels like they have a level playing field, as level as possible.
Honestly, I just did it because I wanted to be a good role model. I wanted to be a good example. I wanted other trans men to know that like this is a men's magazine and I'm a man, and if other trans men are men and we should be represented in this magazine. We should be on the cover, we should be in it, there should be articles for us, by us. And so I just kind of did it as an example, not at all thinking it was going to hit. It was more just like, all right, like these men want to be seen in this magazine, so let me just be an example. Let me put myself out there and encourage others to do the same.
I definitely think that's important, that we're visible. Hey, we're here. We're not going anywhere. I guess I'm thankful that there are at least a couple of places we can compete. It's untested. I would love to see more access and more inclusion for all trans athletes, including non-binary. I think that's a big area that there's a definite hole there that doesn't really exist. They've kind of tried to fix it, I think, some other places with an MX category, but I'm not sure that that's the best answer. And I would just like to see that, tested powerlifting be open and available, that in tested federations that the IOC guidelines are adopted. I think that's fair to all parties. It's this Olympic standard. It's there. And I don't understand why there's so much kickback to, allowing us to share the platform in a tested capacity as well.
I think that showing solidarity with more than just our community, I'm talking about communities across the board that don't necessarily have equal and equitable access to sports, and really coming together to say, hey, sports is also a colonized thing, and we need to deconstruct that if we're ever to come together and make this a thing that really serves all people and empowers all people. I think that moving forward, we really do need to be focusing on like, how can we collaborate? How can we look at the movements in other sports that are occurring right now and how people are coming together to combat World Rugby's proposal to ban trans people. And it's working. People are coming together en masse in an allyship and saying, hey, we want our trans family, we want our non-binary family, we want our gender non-conforming and intersex family to be here with us. In order to do that, we have to be building community, and we have to be looking outside of just ourselves. We realize like how validating sports can be as far as belonging and belonging within your own body. And so it only makes sense that we take care of each other and move forward in a way that's really encapsulating like all of our experiences. Like we need to be able to do that.
I want to first mention that we have our subjects. Paulo is our judge for today. He's going to be talking a little bit about posing. I'll be talking a little bit about posing and what judges look for.
So obviously I'm not prepping for a show right now. My body fat percentage is probably around 15%. When you're doing a show, you want to get as low as you can. People aim for like 7%, but really winners are going home with 4 or 5% body fat. Just keep that in mind. But as I go through the pose, I'm going to try and talk through what I'm doing. When you're posing, you always want to start with your feet, start with the ground, and you work your way up. Keep a smile on your face, and just try and make sure you're keeping everything as flexed as possible. For turns, you always want to pivot. You don't want to pick up your feet. You want to do it very smooth. So you want to pivot your feet, and you want to keep your face turning facing the direction that your hips are facing.
The biggest part about this is you want to really flare your back out. When it comes on stage, the lights are shining at you at an angle. So you kind of want to lean back a little bit to get the angle correct. Don't mind, posing is hard. It does take practice. You want to keep the waist small, so that's why you bring your hands close and out. And remember, again, angles, guys. When it comes to these lat spreads, angles play a big part. So
there are 3 different categories, and they all have different advantages. For physique, you really just want to have a really thin waist, broad shoulders, not too muscly, but really lean out. And like I said, for bodybuilding, you just want to get as big as possible. They don't have weight limits.
That's right. Paulo's in the background.
You're ripped.
All of this affects everyone, and we can all be unified in that, regardless of whether you're trans, intersex, gender nonconforming, non-binary, cisgendered. These are all things that we have in common. And I think that Aydian spoke to that in a beautiful way. I loved the idea of Janae and Nat working on those 4 elements, being inclusive, affirming, fair, and competitive.
I agree, absolutely. And I think I can easily speak for probably everybody that came in and worked and spoke with us today, that we have that goal of not feeling alone anymore. All of us feel like we are probably a little bit alone, but things like the IATBP, Pull for Pride, Women's Strength Coalition, the Share the Platform grant, and lifters that are so open like Paulo and Damien and Janae, all of those things together are really the foundation of this beautiful and thriving community that we're all coming together. We don't have to be alone anymore.
Just like Aydian said, don't be afraid to be vulnerable. It is a strength, it is not a weakness, and it's what binds us together, is to be ourselves, who we truly are in this world, and not to be afraid. Don't be afraid to be amazing, people. Don't be afraid to be amazing.